think the great thing about modern British art in terms of collecting is its accessibility and its diversity. There is something for every collector at every price level. One of the most important things about collecting is to buy what you love. Yes, some people will buy for investment, but at the end of the day, that can be a risky game, and you've got to be prepared to have what you buy on the wall. Modern British art is fun to live with, and it's easy to live with as well. Someone like David Shigley is a prime example. He really puts the fun into collecting. Or Gary Bunt. His work can't help but bring a smile to your face, and he is inspired by the great canons of modern British art history. I think it's important to consider collecting across the different mediums. Yes, you have paintings and works on paper, but you also have sculptures, photography, prints, studio ceramics, textiles, design furniture. Studio ceramics are a great way to start collecting modern British art. They're excessively priced, and they look brilliant on a shelf in a room. You can physically hold them in your hand, you can see how they were made. I think if you look at the works of people like Bernard Leach, Hans Koper, or Lucy Rie, you can appreciate the work, the craftsmanship, and the understanding that goes into putting them together. One of the wonderful things about modern British art is the breadth of different materials that artists use. Take, for example, Grayson Perry, one of the leading artists working in Britain today. Here he makes use of digital printing on this wonderfully vibrant, colourful tapestry. Or John Piper, perhaps best known as a landscape painter. Here we see him working in mosaic for this fantastically bright and fun 1960s table. What do we mean by provenance? Well, provenance is basically where has the work come from, who it was owned by, where it's been exhibited, where it's been before. Provenance can be such a key factor when considering starting a collection, and provenance can make or break a work. It's all about finding out a little bit more about the history of the piece. Take, for example, this brilliant 1935 Graham Sutherland drawing. Looking at the back, we see labels, including the National Gallery, the Tate, the Arts Council of Great Britain, all wonderful shows that the work was featured in. But looking a little bit closer, you see the lender of the work at the time, listed as Sir Kenneth Clark, National Gallery Director. If you're thinking about starting a collection of modern British art, you need to be as informed as possible. The best way to do that is to ask a specialist. One of the stars of the March sale is this striking portrait of Her Majesty the Queen by British photographer Chris Levine. What's really interesting and exciting about this work is that on the back of the sheet there is another unique colourway trial print of the same image. It's the sort of thing that, without asking the specialist in the auction house, you could easily walk past and not see. Condition is key. Things like damage or restoration will impact the value and sometimes desirability of a piece, so it's important to be as informed as possible before you make a purchase. Budget is important with any collection, and that's one of the brilliant things about modern British art. £1 million, £100,000, £1,000, £100. You can buy a brilliant work of art for whatever your budget allows. But I would say it's always worthwhile focusing your budget. So, for instance, rather than buying 2 or 3 good pictures, putting all of that pot of cash towards buying one brilliant picture, buying at the top of your budget. Collecting can be a very fluid journey. It moves, it grows with you as you move and grow. You might start by being drawn towards an early Ivan Hitchens landscape with those beautiful swathes of bold, striking colour, and then take you into a more contemporary version, say, for example, the beautiful little Peter Doig landscape from the 1980s. Works that are worlds apart, but they have this thread tying them together, this British historical narrative. You could start by collecting Terry O'Neill's fashion photography, but then be drawn to his wonderful celebrity photographs of the likes of Elton John or David Bowie. Modern British artists of the 20th century knew each other, lived together, worked together, and drew inspiration from one another, such as Henri Gaudier-Breschke and Nina Hamnet, whose portrait of a reclining man from 1918 is an incredibly vibrant, striking painting done at the end of the First World War. Made in Britain celebrates the interdisciplinary nature of the British art scene over the course of the past century, tying together paintings, works on paper, prints, photography, studio ceramics, design. It's a really exciting and engaging field, and I promise you there is something that will catch your eye.